My name is Scott Holmes, and I'm one of the owners of ABI Attachments, and I'm here in Central Ohio with Trent Gillam, who is a general manager for Henderson Turf.
Yes, sir. I was brought on 2 years ago to try to bring the company into the future.
Yeah.
And in that, I was looking for new tools to use because our Harley rakes were continuously breaking down. And I came across the ABI on the internet.
Yeah.
And made a call up and came up for a day and spent a day with Kevin.
Right, Kevin is my partner, inventor of all this equipment. Yep.
Yeah, came up and spent a day with him in the field and went back that year and bought one TR3 rake and one SR3 rake.
Yeah.
Used it through the fall, and then this spring bought a packer seeder, 3 more TR3 rakes, and 2 more SR3 rakes.
So you mentioned the Harley rake. What is it that made you want to move from that type of seedbed preparation to something new?
Well, we also have a sod farm in southern Ohio, and when we prep our sod fields, we go in and we rip the soil real deep, and then we pack all the seed on, and then we don't use any sort of mulch cover or anything in our sod fields.
Right.
So I kept looking at why aren't we doing that same thing on our projects?
Okay.
And with the Harley rake, we weren't able to get that deep seed bed penetration that we wanted and get that nice loose soil. We were only able to get maybe an inch of dust over top of the ground.
Yeah, well, it's just not designed to do that. You have 1-inch nubs. Correct. And it's on a roller, and that's about the penetration you get.
Yes. We thought in our office that if we're able to rip the soil, we'd be able to get a lot more water absorption because we had looser soil. So when you ran the Harley rake over top of a hard pan soil, you still had that hard crust. And the water, when it hit it, would hit the hard pan, and we had a lot of washouts.
Got it.
So with ripping up the soil, the ground was able to absorb a lot more moisture, which then helped increase our germination.
So tell me a little bit about your operation.
When I came on board 2 years ago, we had roughly 25 employees.
Okay.
And with those 25 employees, we were turning right around $2 million a year in volume. And our work consists of erosion control blanket, sod installation, and seed prep and installation. So I came back and said, well, let's see if there's not a way to improve our operation. How can we become more efficient? And with our power rakes, we had a real hard time getting up close to any concrete or hard surfaces because they bounce a lot when they're spinning. And so we always try to stay, our rule of thumb was to stay a foot off and then take a hand rake with 3 or 4 hand guys and spend the next day with guys with rakes raking all day. I don't want to rake all day. They didn't really want to rake all day.
They don't want to rake all day.
So when I came and visited, Kevin said, use my tool and do all your edge work. And so we went out and that's what we started to do. And we went from 25 employees at about $2 million, and we're down to 13 employees, and our projections are $2.5 million this year. We were able to produce more per crew with these tools than we were with our previous tools we were using, the Harley rakes and the Rockhounds.
You were telling me earlier that you had 8 Harley rakes, but you had 4 crews.
Correct.
But you never had enough Harley rakes to fill your crews.
We always had a backup for every tractor. So at a Harley rake's costing you somewhere between $9,000 and $10,000 a piece. We had a spare one for when the main one broke down. And at certain times we would have 2 or 3 broke down at a time and wouldn't be able to go out and work because we didn't have the tools to go out and work. This year, from March until the end of August, we haven't had that as an obstacle for our operations team. The ABI attachments don't break down. There's not a lot of moving parts for them to break down. The Harley rakes, they have a lot of moving parts and pieces and bearings and things that can break on them.
One of the things I want to talk to you about is the acceptance of these tools by your laborers. I mean, we've dealt with thousands of contractors and laborers through the years, and we know that change seldom is fun. How did you guys respond to all this?
Well, when we showed up last fall with the SR3 and the TR3 rake, we put them basically with our most efficient crew that was using the Harley rakes. They adapted pretty well, and I was really excited about it last fall when I came back from Indiana with you guys. And so I spent some time out in the field with them. I was more involved with the direct field operations. And so those guys got trained pretty thoroughly, and they really bought onto the tools and were able to help convince our owner that this was going to be a good idea moving forward, because we had a significant investment to make moving into the 2015 season if we wanted to acquire more equipment. So we showed up with 3 more TR3 rakes and 2 more SR3 rakes. We took a $60,000 skid steer that before just had a bucket or a power rake on it, and now and it was really just used for general cleanup.
Yeah.
And we took that $60,000 piece of equipment, and now we're able to go out and produce grading with it,
Yeah.
and finished product with it. What we have found is that the tools are easier to use.
Yeah.
I can take a everyday equipment operator and put him in that, and by the end of the day, he's figured out how to run it efficiently, how to use it to its capabilities.
That's great.
If I take a person straight off the streets and put them on it, there's not a huge learning curve. You set your tires, you set it to the grade that you want to rip and everything, and then it goes out and does its job. You don't have to mess with raising and lowering
Right.
the TR3 or the SR3 rake. It pretty much is self-leveling itself.
Yeah.
It was designed to work that way. It was designed to be operator friendly, and so our guys end up liking it better because it's easier for them to run. They put it down and they just go do their job.
The bottom line is you've increased your efficiency and lowered your labor cost.
All while continuing to grow our gross sales. So
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
our volume's continuing to grow, and we're not having to necessarily go out and hire a bunch of new staff or buy a bunch of new equipment. We're finding ways to use the things that we already own and already invested in to produce more work.
Yeah. One of our messages we have is that with the SR3 and the TR3, because of the way they're built and what they do, you can actually take jobs that everybody else rejects. You told me you had a story that related to that.
Yeah. Well, last year there was a video on your guys' website where Kevin's using an SR3 to clear out basically a woods in a person's backyard and turn it into a seed bed.
Yeah.
So this spring I had a client call me and say they wanted to turn basically a wooded overgrown area into like a athletic field area for an apartment community. And so I went up there and looked at it, and I said, yeah, we can do that. And it looked very similar to what Kevin was encountering. No problem, we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So the operations team went up there to do the job, and when they got up there, how are we going to do this? So I went up and visited them and showed them the video, and I said, guys, you just need to take the tool the same way that it's been designed to use. You rip all the overgrowth out of the way. You can take that skid steer with the SR3 and push those trees over and rip them out of the ground. And about 4 hours later, we had about 2 acres of athletic fields ripped, prepped, and ready for seed. That's something that in the past we probably would have shied away from. Or recommended that they had somebody come in with a bulldozer and did the clearing.
Exactly.
So we did with a skid steer and an SR3 rake what somebody would have came in and did with a small bulldozer.
Yeah. So the SR3 and the TR3 are products that we have patents on. But we also have some products that we're very proud of that are the best in their class. And the Packer seeder that you guys purchased from us is one of those.
We own 3 Packer seeders that before we bought the ABI Packer seeder. And one of the things that we didn't like a lot about it was at the end of the night that we always had to clean the seed out because inside the hopper the seed would get wet.
Sure, you'd stick in there. And
it was just a mess, and if we didn't get it cleaned out, then it didn't drop right, the tubes didn't drop right, and it was just a pain in the butt. With the ABI Command seeder, we don't have that problem. We can leave the seed in there, we don't have to continuously empty it out, it stays dry, we don't have any problems. The other thing was most of the Packer seeders on the market were designed to go on tractors, on the back of a tractor. With the ABI Command seeder, it has an attachment that you can put on your skid steer. And so now we've been able to use, if the tractor's still running, run the TR3 rake, or maybe even running a Harley rake if that has to happen, then now we can take it and put it on the skid steer. Instead of that skid steer just sitting there, again, we took a $60,000 piece of equipment and we're putting it back to work.
That's right. Not just let it sit.
What we found is on steep hillsides where before we would have to hand broadcast the seed on or even spray it on with our hydro seeder, we can put that command seeder on the front of our skid steer, run against the slope with the command seeder, and create little ridges that will help prevent erosion, so we don't get as much washout as long as we go against the slope with the command seeder. We couldn't do that before with our old ones because they couldn't go on the front of a skid steer. And some of those slopes were too steep to put a tractor on. We didn't want to put anybody in danger, but with the skid steer, we're able to do that. It runs forward and backwards, which is different than what we own, and we can cover twice as much area. If you get a good loose seed bed worked up with the ABI attachments, either the SR3 or the TR3, and you're using the Packer seeder or the Brilliant seeder method, then you're able to push a lot of those smaller stones down into the ground.
Absolutely.
And with doing that, not only do you get quicker germination because you got a lot better seed to soil contact, it covers up and comes up through those rocks. It's the same method we use on our sod farm. We're just using it on a different scale for our commercial operation
Right.
now. Scott, I just can't tell you how much that the ABI attachments have changed the way we've done business. You've got other tools in your arsenal that we're interested in the future. We've continued to increase our bottom line. We're increasing volume that we can produce, and it's just been a real pleasure working with your team and giving feedback back and forth on
Absolutely.
maybe better ways that we can use the tool. Your guys' support has been great, and just looking forward to investing in other tools that you guys have in the future.
That's great. Trent, I know as far as being a contractor or a job site, it takes a lot for you to take time out and let us do this. So I appreciate you letting us get on site with you and your guys, and we look forward to a future with you as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot.